Okay, we're going to go on and get started. So, hello and welcome to the new Web Travel System webinar. Thank you for taking the time today to focus on this very important topic. My name is Troy Howell and I will be facilitating this webinar today. Catherine Wright and Tim Ryan will be serving as moderators to assist with any issues. We also have the Web Travel developer, Wei Miao, along with Ethel Rodriguez from Travel Services, and they're here to help us answer your questions today. Okay. So we have half an hour scheduled for today's webinar. The presentation is approximately 20 minutes, and we will dedicate the rest of the time to questions and answers. We will take questions at the end of the webinar. You can use the chat window to enter your questions. You can also use the chat window anytime if you are having problems viewing or hearing this webinar. We will be monitoring this window throughout the presentation, and we will answer the questions in the order they were received during the Q&A segment. We know some of you may have gathered as a group to listen to this presentation. It might be helpful to designate one person to type any questions your group might have. Also note that a recording of this webinar will be posted on the CC Info website. Most of you are familiar with the existing web travel system. The new web travel system will have a similar look and feel with a few key changes. The central airfare billing system, otherwise known as the CAB system, is going away. Airfare will be incorporated into the new web travel system. The chartfield structure replaces the existing FRS account and object code. ImageNow is replacing DocuFax. Departments will no longer fax in documents, but instead will scan documents and upload them to the web travel system. Use the new web travel system to create authorizations, reimbursements, or airfare requests. Note that after go live, users will no longer be able to use in-depth to process travel. A travel authorization is completed prior to the traveler departing for his or her trip. An authorization can be used to prepay registration on behalf of the traveler or reimburse the traveler for prepaid registration fees before the trip and or to advance monies to UNC faculty, staff, or students who are planning a business trip for the benefit of the university. A travel reimbursement is used to reimburse UNC affiliates who have incurred expenses related to their own business travel on behalf of the university. The airfare option is used to purchase airline tickets for affiliates and non-affiliates and charge the expense directly to the department. Note that preparers now have an option to create an airfare request first and then create an authorization, or start with an authorization, then add an airfare request later. Authorizations and reimbursements begin with a T number, while airfare requests begin with a C number. Okay, now I'm going to go on to the next slide, the scenario process. The most common travel authorization request is for registration fees. The first scenario, we will show the process for the departmental preparer that needs to submit a registration through the web travel system. Similar to the old system, all requests at the least need to obtain departmental and travel services approval before payment can be made. So for the next scenario, we will show the process when a departmental approver needs to approve a web travel document that has been submitted for their approval. So we hope to show both of those today. In order to start a web travel request, the traveler must have a valid PID if they are an affiliate or a valid VID if they are a non-affiliate. The traveler must be affiliated with a university department and they must be in the vendor database. If you get an error after entering the PID or VID, then that means one of those prerequisites have not been met. Preparers must have an onion and password that has web travel access. Approvers must be designated in the appropriate web travel thread, group, and route. Okay, now I'm going to show you a demo in a test system. So bear with me just a minute as I try to share my desktop. Okay, so I'm going to sign in to a test system. And I'm going to sign in, first of all, from the creator's perspective. So we're going to say that Ethel's going to do the creating. So this looks similar to the current Finance Central Fred system. So you just click on WebTravel, and then just like today, you go to the Start menu, and then for the document type, Campus will just see WebTravel here. Ethel is in Central Office; she sees a couple, but you'll just see the WebTravel option, and then click the Start button. Okay, so this is a little bit different than today. You'll select the right business unit, whether it be UNCCH or if you're with UNCGA, you would select UNCGA. And then you would enter the travelers. If they have a PID, you'd enter the PID or the VID to do a search if they have a VID. So in this case, I'm going to do one with someone that has a PID. So here's the one that I'm going to use today. And then you click the search button. And once you click the search button, you'll see the traveler's information there. And you just want to make sure that everything's correct, that the department number is correct. And if so, I'm going to click Verify, because that looks fine to me. So I'm going to click Verify. And then this is where, note at the bottom, I can choose whether I'm doing an authorization, a reimbursement, or an airfare. So it's going to look like the same screen no matter which one I choose. So in this case, we're going to do an authorization. Okay. So the contact person, you would enter in your name here. So in this case, we're signed in as Ethel. She's going to be doing the contact person. So we're going to type her name in there. And then it's good if you can type your phone number so travel services will know who to call. Type that right there. And these asterisks, these are required fields here with a star beside it. So I'm going to need to put the departure date. It's going to be a future date because this is an authorization. So I'm just going to pick let's say it's going to be Friday the 12th. The departure time, this is required for a reimbursement. If it's a reimbursement, you have to put a time. But if it's an authorization, it's optional at this time. So I'm going to leave that blank. And I'm going to put in a return date, which is required. Let's say they return the same day on the 12th. Same thing for return time. That's only required if it's reimbursement. Now I'm going to go down here. Are any travel expenses paid or expected to be paid by an outside party? I'm going to put no. Going to be paid not by an outside party. And then for the travel type, we can do in-state, out-of-state, or out-of-country. This example is going to be just an in-state trip to Charlotte. So I'm going to enter in the city. The travel purpose, if I know that, I can put that in here. Let's say that this is for an AICPA conference. We're doing registration for that. And then it's not out of country, so I don't need to do an exchange rate. I've already selected authorization, so I'm going to click Save. Okay, once I click Save, then I get this authorization detail entry, and I can put in the meals, I could put it in the room, etc. In this case, we're just going to do it for registration. So let's say, let's just say $15.25 for the registration. So I'm going to click the Save button, and then I'm going to go down. And okay, this is where, see, I told you guys it looked just like this. This is where I would go, and I could enter my chart fields, right? So we talked about that. Let me click this magnifying glass. I'm going to enter my business unit, UNCCH. Once you start typing a few letters or numbers, it'll give you some choices, and you can just keep typing, or you can click on from the drop down what meets that criteria. So here's my fund code. Again, I shouldn't change my account. That defaults in based on what I selected earlier. Here's the department that I want to use. Okay. And then the fund source, I want to use 12001. So at the least, these are the fields that you have to type in at a minimum. And hit save. Okay, once I do that, I'm going to leave the department blank because I've already typed in the chart field string. The department is just if I want them to type in the string, I'm going to type their number. Now I have to do the vendors, which I've showed you. You just do a search with contains is the easiest way. In this case, we're doing an AICPA registration for them. I'm going to click on the correct address that I want to use. Then I'm going to click Save. Okay, once I click Save, this is where I need to go. The first thing I would do is generate the traveler's acknowledgement. So I click on that, click Open, and then I would print this out. Okay, so I would print out this form and have the traveler sign it. Okay, then I would upload it. I would upload it, scan it into my computer, and I would need to upload it here. So to upload a form, you go to first you would do your acknowledgement, click acknowledgement, and it has to be uploaded separately. You can't select anything else when you select acknowledgement. You would do a browse, and let's say that I've already scanned this form in. I'm going to do a browse, and I'm going to find it on my computer. So sample travel form. Here we go. Here it is. I'm going to upload it. And then it says that it uploaded successfully. So I'm going to view the image. And I'm going to click on the image. And this is what it would look like. It was signed on a certain date. And I would just make sure that it came through okay. Yeah. So I'm going to get rid of that, minimize it. And next, if it came through okay, I'm going to click this box. I verify the traveler has personally signed the acknowledgement page. Okay. And the next thing that I need to do is I need to upload my registration form. So let's say I've already scanned it in, the registration form. It's on my computer, and I'm ready to upload it. Now again, the registration form has to be in its own document. I can't combine it, notice, with other documents. So I'm going to go to registration. I'm going to click Browse, and again I'm going to try to find it here on my computer. Here it is. Here's the invoice, and I'm going to upload the file, and I'm going to scroll down, and successful, and I'm going to view the image. Okay, so here it is right here. I'm going to click on image 2, the registration. And this is the invoice, and it looks just fine. So you want to make sure it came through okay. It does. So you could close the browser, minimize the browser. Then I'm going to get out of here, and I viewed the images. And the next thing I'm going to do is click this again. So that actually disappears. I'm going to click it again once I've got all my images in there. Now, I don't have, in this case, I don't have airfare, meals, taxi, room, etc. But if I did, I could click these boxes to whatever it applies to and do another upload and combine those if I wanted to. Now, make sure that you select the right upload type. For the acknowledgement form, it has to be a PDF. So that was the default, so that's why it worked. And now I'm ready to submit it for approval by clicking Submit for Approval button. So if you don't get this Submit for Approval button, it means you haven't followed all these steps yet. Okay, once I click the button, it's going to give me my different routes. So this department just has one route, so there's no choosing. But if there were multiple routes, I could have the option to choose the one I wanted to go to. This department just has one. I'm going to click Submit for Approval. And now this document number T200184 has been submitted for approval, as you see here at the top, for departmental approval. So now I'm going to try to attempt to show you the approval of this document. So bear with me just a minute. I'm going to sign out. And I'm going to sign out completely, and then I'm going to sign back in. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to sign in as the approver, and let's say the approver is myself. So Ethel submitted it. I'm going to try to approve it. Okay, again, I go to WebTravel, and I see the documents here that are in my inbox for approval here under my Approvals tab. Now, if I'm a primary approver, I could choose that. Backup, I would choose this. Or if I would choose both, I could see everything, whether I'm primary or backup. That's there for my approval. So this is the one that I want to approve, this 184. That's the one that I just did. So I'm going to go here to Review from the drop-down and click this blue arrow. Okay, once I click the blue arrow, then it takes me to this page, and I can look at the document, make sure everything looked okay. I could go in here, I could change the chart fields if I wanted to by using this wrench icon. I could make some changes, but everything looks okay. I could also view the images, right? Just as the creator viewed it, I could use this View Images to do that. I could reject. Now, if I reject, it's going to come up with a notepad that pops up, and I could fill out that notepad to give a reason, and then it'll send an email back to the creator, knowing why I was rejected. And also, the approvers, just like today, if you have your email preference turned on, you will get emails. So it's up to the department, and the primary people are the folks that get emails. So just like the WebTravel system today, however you guys set it up for your department with approvers, primary backup, or email preference, you can get those emails. Once I click on Approve, then it's actually going to approve the document. Okay. So notice that it's been successfully submitted to the travel authorization for approval, or the travel office. And just like today, you can view the history by going right here to look up the history and see where it's been. Okay, Ethel started it, and then I approved it. You can even show the current and future approvals. In this case, just the travel pre-audit. Click on it and see their names there. So again, that's no change from the current system. Okay, so you guys want me to show anything else in this system? Okay, so I'm going to exit out of this system. If you guys will be patient with me just a second. And I'm going to go back into it to finish up the slides. Okay, so let me go back. Bear with me just a second. Okay, so I've done the system demo. We showed how to create and approve. Now let's do a quick recap of what we learned today. So as we wrap up the presentation portion of today's webinar, we want to remind you about the key differences between the legacy WebTravel system and the new WebTravel system. First, there is no longer a separate system for airfare. Preparers can use the airfare option radio button in the new WebTravel system. Preparers also now have an option to create an airfare request first and then add an authorization, or start with an authorization, then add an airfare request later. The FRS 6-digit account number and the 4-digit object code have been replaced by the chart field string. If the departmental preparer enters the 6-digit department number and leaves the chart field string blank, the WebTravel system will route the document to that particular department's approver for them to enter the proper chart field string. Regarding attachments, all documents must be scanned into your computer and uploaded. The signed traveler's acknowledgement page and registration form are required to be uploaded separately and individually. Support documents for airfare, taxi, meals, room, car, and/or other can be scanned and saved into a single document upload. You can find detailed information about the new WebTravel system as well as how to manage approval groups and routes at finance.unc.edu/training. Note that only departmental route administrators have access to add or modify groups and routes. For more information about chart fields, view the Chart Fields 101 CBT. You can find that CBT along with many other valuable resources at ccinfo.unc.edu/training. Now we will address the questions that you have. Feel free to submit additional questions at this time. Okay, so bear with us just a moment while we look through the questions. Okay, so you guys want to come around so you can talk into the mic, Ethel and Way, one of you. So I'll read the questions, and the ones I can answer, I'll answer, and the ones that they can answer, I'll let them answer. So where does the fund code, account, and fund source information come from? You're going to need to know that that is part of the chartfields training. So that's covered in chartfields 101. So either you as the creator will have that, your MOU or your training implementation partner will tell you the chartfield string to use, or you'll need to just put in the department, and then the person from that department can enter in that string. It's just like the account and object code today. Okay. Okay, we got some previous questions here. For a non-affiliate, what is the VID? Is it their SSN? Okay, so this is Ethel.
Morning, everyone. VID stands for Vendor ID, and similar to what we have in our current system, that would be generated by our vendor system. So you would still have to do, for non-affiliates, you would still have to do a web vendor request to get them set up in our vendor database, and that would be, your VID would be generated by that system.
And if they're already in the current system, then they'll just carry over. But if it's a brand new vendor that's not in there, you would have to do that, and that's covered in another training. That's a train the trainer training for vendors. Okay, let me scroll down here. Okay, someone asked, travel transactions will not be going through InfoPort as a question. I believe it's got to be done through the WebTravel system. So you will have to use this WebTravel system that I showed today for travel. Okay. Yeah, the invoice was for $12.75, but the approval was for $12.50. That's a good catch. I put in the wrong amount. Really, we just wanted to show you what an invoice would look like. This isn't a real one. I was close. I knew it was 12 something. So
You got a discount.
yeah, but yeah, in the real system we would make it match. Okay, here's a question about meals. What would you upload for meals? The mandatory amounts will default in depending on what meals are requested. So that's like a per diem question.
Right. There's probably, you probably don't need it. I mean, it would probably be required for if you were requesting something over the allowable per diem. You know, and then we find that a lot of departments like to include the information, even though, you know, for us to review. I mean, I think from travel's perspective, sometimes it's better to give us a little bit more than have us go back and ask you for more, and so you know, delaying the request. So it doesn't hurt to add it on there, but you know, on some situations it might not be required if you're really just not requesting anything over the allowable.
Okay, what attachments will be required for airfare?
Nothing really. I mean, for airfare, for cabs, just as our current system, we don't require any supporting documents. That's all really within your department. Whatever your department's business processes, that would prevail.
Okay. So travel doesn't have anything specifically, but your department does.
Right. Actually, cabs, well, the old cabs, the new airfare system, one change is we would not be, our vendor coordinator who used to approve non-affiliate cabs travels, we will no longer need to do that. Everything would just be going through departmental approval, and once it is approved by your department, it goes into approved status and it's ready for ticketing. So that's another minor change, that you skip a step. It streamlines it a little bit more, that once you prepare your cabs, your airfare, you get your department to approve it, it's ready for ticketing.
Okay, will the C number cross-reference the T number automatically, or will this be a manual entry?
It'll be automatic. So what happens is when you start, let's say, an authorization, it'll, in the background, it automatically creates, does it automatically? No, it doesn't. A C, if you do a C, it'll do a T. Yeah. Okay, so if you start with an authorization, you get your T number. And if you access that authorization again, you will get the option for, this is for affiliates, of course, you will get the option to choose the airfare radio button, and that would generate the C number. If you start with the airfare request first and you get your C number, if you go back into your created tab, you should have a corresponding T number already created for you, and then that's how you would start your authorization request.
Okay. Someone said a reimbursement should have been demonstrated. Well, we have limited time in this webinar today, so we picked the most common, which is an authorization. In the training material, which is posted online, it takes you through how to do all three.
Right. And the process, again, the system is similar to what we have in place right now. The major changes that we presented today are the same for reimbursements and authorization. So the chart field string, the image now, those are also in reimbursement. So if you get it in authorization, it applies to reimbursement. So
right, the screen looks the same.
It should be easy, right?
So I think you already talked about the VID.
Yeah.
You already explained that. Are we still required to use selected travel agencies for cabs?
Yes, we have our authorized UNC travel agents that we have to use.
There's no faxing, right? Someone asked about, do we still need to fax the doc to the disbursement office?
No, everything would be done through Image Now.
Through the uploading.
Scan and upload, yes.
Will the travel office still support T numbers for air travel?
Is that the wrong? Angelina, I think you might be asking about when we provide those raw T numbers for non-affiliate use. We would no longer need to do that because our system incorporates the airfare, and then that's available for affiliates and non-affiliates. So as long as you have your traveler set up, you would be able to use the vid portion of that main screen and put your non-affiliate travelers vid on there, and that you should be able to, and the system will generate a T number for you, so you would no longer need to come to travel to ask for a T number to book your non-affiliate travel.
Okay, and this one someone else brought up that we already talked about, wanting to see a reimbursement instead of and an authorization, but that's covered in the online help in the manual. We just had limited time today. But I think being able to show the process from an authorization fully and then also the approval process was good. Okay, we've already answered that one. Will the C number match the T number? You've already talked about that one. Okay, here's one. It looks like they're talking about they've got something in the current system, but then the cutover. So this might be more addressed in the cutover communications. But it says, let me read this one. I have a traveler going to training in November. I already created a T number to pay for the training. Will I have to create a new T number after October 1st for the reimbursements? Also, I have to book his airfare still. Should I do that in the old system now or wait until the week after October 1st? Is that something that you can answer today, or is that more of a cutover question?
I think we could answer it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Let me see. Okay, so if you start a T number in our current system now, in our old system, and so you start your authorization. To do the reimbursement, you would have to start a new one in our current system because the old documents are not going to transpose over to the new one. So you have to create a brand new, and probably just for your own bookkeeping purposes, you would just reference the old T number. But there's no way that we could reuse the old ones that were created in the new system and use them in the new system. So the second part of the question...
Haven't booked airfare yet.
Airfare.
Should they wait until...
There's no harm in doing it now. I mean, it's really up to your department, you know. Okay. But yeah, I mean, there's no harm to do it now or to do it later. It really depends on your department.
We've already talked about the info port. We've already talked about the meals. We've already talked about that one. Let's see. So these are ones that came in already. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any. What happens to current travel documents that are in process?
Okay. The 15th. Okay. So right now we have a cutoff of September 15th. So anything that is not in travel approval process status by 7 o'clock, they will be discarded. So you can't use those. And so if you have documents that are work in progress or waiting for departmental approval, you would have to recreate those documents in the new system.
Okay. Yeah, we'll try to talk louder. What happens to archives? Will we be able to search? So I guess documents in the existing system, will they still be able to go into the existing system and search? And the answer is yes.
Yes, that would be available for a year maybe. For some time, that would allow us to go back and research documents. View only, right? No changes allowed, just be able to view the documents.
Okay, is there a maximum file size for the supporting documentation that you guys know of? Have you guys have done some testing and haven't had any problems, have you?
Mm-mm.
So not that we know of.
Right.
Okay, so this is a question, will the authorization T number correspond to the reimbursement as well? Different people enter authorizations and reimbursements. So you can get those to work together if you want, right? You can get that same number.
Right, and it's always recommended that you use the same T number for your authorization and, for your reimbursement. Okay, we talked about scanned documents. You can't combine the registration or the travel detail acknowledgement form, but you can combine the other documents into one. Okay. That one I believe we've talked about. There's no central airfare billing system. It's not a separate system now. It's all going to be in this one web travel system. So do you guys know anything about the uploaded files? It says when we upload files, does the new system support new versions or still old versions of Excel or Word? Is there any limitations? The system would accept doc. It goes by the extension. So it could accept doc, docx, XLS, XLSX, PDF, and TXT.
Now the airfare will have a C number. What happens to the independent contractor C numbers? Will they no longer be Cs? I don't think that's the question for...
Yeah, I'm not sure what the...
well, this
doing with the...
Yeah, because the web travel system is separate. It's not really part of the actual PeopleSoft. It's under the new Fred. So it's a separate system. So I'm not really sure how the ICs are being handled or what numbers those have. That's kind of done through the campus vendor process. Can you show a new airfare request? Sorry, we're already way over time. T number and C number is very confusing. Can you demonstrate a cab's Well, the airfare again is just on it's on a different tab, and it would give you a C number. So maybe when we do the next webinar, I can just show them quickly when you click on that how it shows you a C number at the top instead of a T number. Will the per diem be added automatically for both domestic and international travel if requesting a regular per diem?
It should. I think just like our current system, it should. If it does it in our current system, it should do it in our new system.
Where is the training material online? Yeah, that's out there under finance.unc.edu/training. So on the training website, you can go out there. That's our finance training site, finance.unc.edu/training. And I believe it's under the procurement section. You'll find the new web travel manual, and you can read this and look at all the different scenarios. Currently, we get a string of T numbers for non-affiliates for cabs. Well, we need a string of C numbers. I think you've talked about that already. Yeah. When will the CBT be available? It says coming soon. That one may not be available until right at go live. So you're going to need to rely on the manual that I just mentioned, the user guide, which has every scenario. And you can watch a recording of this webinar as well on the CC Info site. Can we access this through Connect Carolina? I believe, well, how do you access the web travel system is their question.
The portal.
Yeah. You can go through the UNC, through the portal of Connect Carolina, and then it's under the finance. I believe it's under the finance section. So if you watch the Connect Carolina 101 training CBT, that'll show you how to sign into that. And this is one option, and it actually takes you to the page that I showed you. It'll look just like that. The existing, it's called the new FRED system. Here's the one, we talked about this, combining. You can combine everything except for, you can check all those boxes at once except for reimbursement and the acknowledgement form. Are hard copies ever required or just scanned copies?
For travels purposes, scanned are fine. We don't require originals, but your department's business process might be different. But like I said, for travels purposes, scanned are fine.
Okay, when creating a travel, UNCCH and UNCGA were the only options. What about foundations? So you would choose UNCCH.
Okay, so on that one, that is based on your traveler. So if your traveler is with CH, you would choose the CH drop-down. If your traveler is with GA, then you would choose the GA drop-down. So that has nothing to do with, that's based on your traveler.
So basically, unless you're with UNCGA, which I assume there's not many people on this webinar through GA, you would always choose that CH, and then you can go from there, and you can choose a fund to source a department that's associated with your foundation for payment. That's fine. It's asking, are you with GA or not?
The traveler. Right.
The traveler at the top. How do you locate a vendor ID? Well, you search for it, as I showed, and if the vendor's not there, you have to do a campus vendor to add them. Will the ICE independent contractor form remain the same, or will it be revised? That's not really within the scope of this webinar. That's not travel, right? Mm-hmm. Will cabs that have been accessed already, we've already talked about the transferring over from the old to the new, right? Mm-hmm. Will the traveler need to sign off on reimbursement in addition to the TA?
Yes, all the traveler acknowledgement replaces our barcode pages, and so, it is our policy that the traveler has to personally sign these pages, and for an authorization or a reimbursement, it doesn't really matter, but the traveler has to sign it. We can't, anything that is missing the traveler's signature is not deemed complete and will most likely be rejected back to the department.
International travelers, if they're out of the country for more than 1 month, do we need to do a reimbursement through travel or check rec if we will be using the government rate? Is that changing at all than it is today?
I mean, if it's travel related for affiliates, it should really go through travel. You know, I don't know, certain situations might not allow us to do it through travel, but if they have an affiliate status with UNC and it's a travel expense, then it should go through WebTravel.
Okay, one more. Can you just repeat about the required signatures and talk a little bit louder because someone couldn't hear that?
Okay.
This will be our last question since we're 15 minutes over.
Okay, so signatures, it is travel policy that we have to have the traveler's signatures for every request that comes in, be it an authorization or a reimbursement. So if your request is missing the traveler's signature, most likely it's not going to be deemed complete and it's going to be most likely rejected back to your department.
Okay, thanks everyone for attending.